Are you ready? Mr. Carter questions as I gather my things from the desk to accompany him for the lunch meeting as his secretary. Quickly stuffing my bag with the relevant files and papers, I give him a quick nod before walking across the desk to stand in front of him. Yes, we are good to go, I said with a polite smile, holding a file clutch to my chest as I gesture for him to take the lead. He nods and takes the lead as I follow after him. The sound of me heels clicking against the hard floor reached my ears with each step. Lucas opens the door of the car for me like a gentleman, and I slide on the back seat before Lucas comes to sit beside me from the other door. The drive starts, and after 20 minutes, we are getting out of the car, standing in front of a lavish restaurant which appears way out of my league. I am pretty sure every dish in the restaurant costs my monthly salary. What are you thinking about? Lucas's question applies a brake on my thoughts. Nothing much. I answer, maintaining a professional smile on my face. Lucas does not look convinced, but he lets the topic go without probing me further for the information. Buttoning the two middle buttons of his suit, Lucas shoots me confident grin. Let's get this over with. He mutters more to himself than to me, but as a professional secretary, I still give him a nod before he takes the lead. Lucas strides confidently inside the restaurant, and I follow his steps. The manager of the restaurant comes rushing towards us when he recognizes Lucas Carter. Lucas Carter is a well-known name in the business magazines, and if one does not know about Lucas Carter, they must be living under the rock. Contrary to what people believes a stereotype billionaire should be, Lucas is exceptionally gentle, playful, and loving. It is quite difficult to not fall for Lucas's charms. With every step, he makes sure to spare a fleeting glance over his shoulder to ensure that I am right behind. Considerate. One more quality added in the list. Good afternoon, Mr. Carter. The manager greeted him and nodded in acknowledgement at me. I returned the nod with a polite smile as the manager asked my boss, "We are pleased to have you, Mr. Carter. How can I help you? We have a table booked here under my name," Lucas informs. The manager nods, asks the receptionist for a register before asking us to follow him. The manager guides towards our table, which is empty. That means the client have not arrived yet. Have a good time, sir, the manager says politely before leaving us alone. Lucas pulls a chair for me like a gentleman, and I settled down watching as Lucas took the seat right behind me. The two seats on the other side of the table are left empty for the client. What did you say was the name of the client? I inquired, deciding to use the silence to get more information about our potential client. You are growing old, Emily, Lucas smirks. Weak memory is a sign. He teases. I roll my eyes. Talk about yourself, I commented, slightly offended. You did not even told me about the name of the client? How am I supposed to remember it? I demand. Lucas raises an amusing brow at me. The smile only widens. Is this how you talk to your boss, Emily? Where is professionalism? He mocks, referring to the previous statements, where I have reminded him about the boundary between a boss and an employee. I found myself at loss of words, but remaining speechless would mean losing to him. We are not in office anymore. I shot back weakly. He leaned back in his seat, giving me his full attention. But we are here for a business meeting. He reminds me, the cocky smile only making my irritation grow. Gesturing at the empty chairs on the other side of the table, I say, but the business client is not here yet. Fair enough. Lucas agrees, but then comments shortly, then what does that makes us now? What is that supposed to mean? I ask with raised eyebrows. Resting his elbows on the table, he rests his chin on his palms and focuses at me before clarifying. If we are not boss and employee right now, then what are we? Sounds like I am dealing with a relationship problem, trying to put label on a complicated relationship. A soft chuckle escapes past my lips at the absurd thought. Lucas laughs along. Are you saying our relationship outside of work is complicated? No, of course not, I deny quickly. Then, we are friends. I tell him. Are we now? Lucas raises a challenging eyebrow. I laugh off the tension which rose in the atmosphere by saying with feigned disappointment, as unfortunate as it is, but it is true. Mr. Carter, a familiar masculine voice which was now slowly starting to fade from my mind and heart as well, rang in my ears after all these years. My heart beat fastened as if recognizing the voice is as easy as breathing. Lips parted slightly to take in as much oxygen as possible because the lungs suddenly feels empty of any air. Lucas glances at the man over his shoulder before rising to his full height with a confident and professional smile. And the world seemed to slip beneath my feet when I heard Lucas say, Mr. Nathan Parker. My mouth felt dry, and my whole body froze as the name of my ex-husband rang over and over again like a painful yet sweet melody in my ears. The sounds of his footsteps reached my ears as he came in front of me to take the seat. A woman who I know a little too well to recognize follows after him. She is wearing a white shirt and pencil skirt with a slit behind. Her lips are painted with a bold red shade, and the sight of red on her immediately makes me want to throw up all I have eaten so far. But I am forced to swallow the urge when my ex-husband's eyes fell on me, widening slightly with a mix of shock and surprise before my name left past his lips, with a hint of recognition in his voice, which, despite my will, forces me to stand back in the time when my whole life fell apart, and leaving the sound of this woman moaning my husband's name in my ears over and over again. I thought I had moved on, but one glance at his face, my heart shatters in pieces all over again. Nathan Parker. 4 years, 2 months, and 9 days later, I stand in front of her, like the world has reeled back to the time when we were standing on the ground, which eventually drifted into two parts, making us go our opposite ways, all because of a mistake I committed. Looking at her, I feel the guilt gnawing up my insides. Her face pales, lips part slightly, and eyes widens at my sight. It's like the two of us are feeling the same, except the guilt in me is replaced with pain in her. Once she sent me the divorce papers, she disappeared from not only life, but the city as well. It was like a needle falling in the haystack. The day she stepped out of my life was the day she disappeared from my sight, loosing among the crowd of 1,000 people. Now, 4 years later, I came across that lost needle without any intention of meeting it. Emily. The words escaped past my lips in a forbidden whisper. Calling her name out gave me a sense of belief that she is real, not a play of my imagination. The name was set out without any emotions. 4 years before, maybe her presence giving nature, and the immense love she showered me with made me ungrateful to her because I was not deserving of all she gave me. And then I gave her that one thing which she did not deserve: betrayal. You two know each other. Mr. Carter's words brought me back in the world of reality. I shook my head. Oh, we. Emily cuts me off instantly. No. The word set out with such bitterness felt like someone forced poison down my throat. My eyes drifts to her, but she does not even gives me a sliver of her attention, as if I am the face in the crowd she would recognize, but will never turn to. And this thought alone sends a painful feeling prickling at my insides. Okay, Mr. Carter says unconvincingly. Turning his attention to me, he gestures towards the empty chairs. Please take a seat. I pull a chair for my secretary before taking my own seat, my eyes betraying me constantly by trying to spare one glance or two of her. This is my secretary, Ms. Isabella Hayes. I introduced, and she nodded in acknowledgement at our clients with a polite smile. Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Parker and Ms. Isabella Hayes, Mr. Carter said with a professional smile, while the woman by his side looked ever Hayes. I wear but me. Let's get to work now, he announced, and I nodded. The waiter approached us in between asking for our orders. Her order have changed. She did not used to like black coffee, but right now that's the only thing she ordered. The meeting continued for 20 minutes, where the advantages and disadvantages of a possible merger for the next project were discussed. It will be a little inconvenient at our parts because we will have to move to San Francisco from Los Angeles. But the company of Mr. Carter was ready to give us 5% more profit, which makes it a better deal. But it was not the profit which convinced me to accept this deal. It was the woman who sat beside Mr. Carter. Even if the deal had been more about loss than profit, I would still have accepted it with a smile. Because when I see her sitting right in front of me, in all of her glory, I feel like the destiny itself is giving me another chance to make things better, and I will damned if I let this one slip from my grasp. Mr. Carter's phone rang just as I signed the papers after him, and he excused himself to take the call. Isabella excused herself when her phone tinged with a notification. The atmosphere shifted when it was just the two of us left, with an uncomfortable silence lingering between us. I interlaced my fingers together, fidgeted with my thumbs. My mouth opened and closed. The words fell short when it came to reconciling with the person you have so much to say to. It's been a long time. The lamest word to ever start a conversation with your ex-wife went past my lips. I internally cursed myself, but kept a composure in front of her, forcing awkward smile. Emily looks up startled, not finding this situation amusing. Unlike me, forced a nod at me. She looks out of the glass window, appreciating the view with her eyes. So, how have you been doing? I ask, hopeful to get an answer from her, even though I would not blame her, even if she decides to keep me on silent treatment. But surprisingly enough, she turns her focus from the glass window to me without smiling. She answers, Fine. My lips clamp shut when she does not ask about me. Isn't it how a conversation's supposed to be? How am I supposed to talk to her now? Get the hint. Nathan, she does not want to talk to you, but like a nuisance. I am. I probe further. So you live in Los Angeles now. Emily does not get to say anything as Isabella appears beside me, smiling at her before she lowers to whisper something in my ear. Your mother called to remind you about tomorrow's dinner plans. She pulls away and I nod in acknowledgement. When I look back at Emily, she appears uneasy. My brows pinches together. Confusion settles in my mind at her sudden change in reaction. But before I can ask anything, Mr. Carter appears by her side. He settles down on the empty chair beside her, apologizing because the call went longer than her expected. Trying to hide the way her cold indifference stung, I continued, my voice barely above a murmur. Anyone special in your life these days? It wasn't the question I'd wanted to ask, but it slipped out, the uncertainty lurking behind it like a shadow. Emily's gaze shifted briefly, but unmistakably to Isabella sitting beside me. There was a flicker of something in her expression, a pause before her lips pulled into a tight, almost imperceptible smile. Then her focus shifted back to me, her posture straighter, her breath steadier. Meet Mr. Lucas Carter. She gestured toward the man beside her, a sense of finality in her words, as if putting an end to this conversation. My boyfriend. Stupid, stupid, stupid move. I cannot believe myself. How on earth did I even end up with this thought in my head? My boss stares at me with wide eyes, and I look at my ex-husband, watching the look of shock on his face while trying to come up with a valid explanation, which will be given to my boss. Though I don't think any amount of explanation can make this absurd situation look justifiable on my part. Slowly, I turn around to look at my boss, pleading him with my eyes to play along. Lucas looks ahead at my ex-husband. The corners of his smile tugs upward in a smile as he reintroduces himself. Yeah, girlfriend. I nudge him slightly in the ribs at the ring words. I mean, boyfriend. Nothan looks at me, eyes betraying the emotions which makes no sense. But, anyways, he turns his focus to my fake boyfriend and forces a smile. You two look good together. Isabella, his secretary, complimented with a genuine smile. Thank you. I forced the words with a smile. Anyways, it was good working with you. We look forward to work with you on the project. Lucas says, extending his hand for shake. Nothan shakes Lucas's hand firmly, but does not take his eyes off me. I shifted on my feet restlessly, avoiding looking at him. Once the pleasantries ended, Nothan left the restaurant with his secretary, while Lucas gestured me with his eyes to sit down on the empty seat in front of him. I smiled awkwardly, trying to look cool while my nerves are shaking. So, care to explain? He leans forward, resting his elbows on the table. He places his chin on the palmar surface before raising an eyebrow in amusement. Girlfriend, he adds, emphasizing on the word. My hands grew clammy and I forced awkward smile on my face as I started, you know. No, I don't, he said briskly. Damn it. Now what, I mean? I paused, trying to come up with an explanation which will make sense to him, because I sure know that anything except the truth will sound absolute nonsense to him. You mean, he presses, looking at me with eager and curious eyes. Can we talk about it later? I suggest, trying to find my way out of this mess. Lucas raises one eyebrow silently, judging me, and those eyes speaks louder than he ever can. All right, I get it. I dragged you into this and I must be honest with you. I concluded, and he nodded, satisfied with my conclusion. Actually, the thing is, Mr. Nothan Parker is... I paused, swallowing a lump in my throat, as his name alone steals all the air out of my lungs. He nods, encouraging me to continue as he brings the glass of juice to his lips, sipping when I finished, my ex-husband. He spits out the juice on my face, a mix of shock and surprise, visible on his face as I clean my face with a tissue paper. Shit, sorry, Lucas muttered, getting up from his seat to hand me more tissues. It's okay, I assure him, taking another tissue paper from him. I am just shocked. You just had a business meeting with your ex-husband. He wonders, appearing both impressed and amused with the scenario playing in his head. I dabbed at my face with the tissue, trying to wipe away the juice that Lucas had so graciously launched at me. I couldn't help but let out a small laugh despite the mess. It was either that or scream in frustration, and I wasn't in the mood to scare the entire restaurant. This is not the reaction I was expecting, but okay, I said, tossing the tissue into the little trash bin beside the table. Excuse me, woman, he says dramatically. Let the man has his time to process a shock as dramatic as this one. I raised an eyebrow, giving him a pointed look. Sure, Lucas. Let's treat my life as an episode of a soap opera, I said, forcing a sarcastic smile on my face. He grinned. Oh, it is more interesting. Sitting back at his seat, he leans forward like a curious child, eager to know everything. So why are you guys ex-husband and wife now? He probes with curious eyes, impatient for the drama. I get up from the seat, slinging the purse over my shoulder. I tapped on the table twice, giving him a bored smile. One story at a time, Mr. Carter. With that said, I turned around, walking out of the restaurant with my boss right behind me, whining like a spoiled brat to hear the story of my failed marriage. So, girlfriend, any plans for tonight? Lucas asked playfully, leaning against the rim of the desk. I look up from the files and regard him with a blank look. Can you stop it now? Only on one condition, he said, looking at me with a sly smirk. I sigh, knowing it wouldn't be something I would usually agree on in normal conditions. Spill it. Take me to meet Mia. His grin widened. I heave another sigh, focus back at the words in the file as I showed him a thumbs up, agreeing to his condition. Drop me at home as well when you are at it, I said, and he chuckled, which I it as a yes. Might as well save taxi fare when I am at it. Mia is easily one of the most lovable children, and I might be biased, but there is some truth in it to some extent because how else would you explain a billionaire sitting on the floor playing house and dolls with my 3-year-old? I think he has a crush on you, Sophie whispered in my ear, startling me. What? I exclaimed, whispering so that they cannot hear us. Don't tell me you had no idea, Sophie says incredulously. I mean, look at this guy. She says, gesturing towards the two where Mia is making him change the outfit of a Barbie doll without looking at her naked body because it's disrespectful. Why else would a billionaire play with a 3-year-old? Sophie questions me. Because my daughter's vibes are positive and enthusiastic, I say, lifting my chin up proudly. Sophie rolls her eyes. So is every second child's. No, I was a lazy one, I protest. That's not the point, Emily. Sophie stretches, keeping her voice a whisper to avoid being heard by the billionaire himself. Neither is him having a crush on me. I dismissed the topic. Turning the gas stove off, I put the lid on the white sauce paste I prepared. Even if he does, you know that I have no time for dating. Mia is only 3 years old. She might not have a present father, but she does not need a stepfather either when her biological father have entered the frame again. I emphasized on the last word before picking the platter bowl to place it on the dining table. Sophie follows after me with 4 bowls, spoons, and forks. Come on, Emily, Sophie starts. A little dating never harms anyone. I give her a pointed look. Says the one who has been trying to move on from her little date since last 2 years. Fair enough. Sophie raises her hands up in surrender. But not everyone has same fate as me. Maybe a little exploring can help you discover a beautiful life. Or land me in another tragic betrayal. The words slipped past my lips before I could think them over. Sophie's face fell, her lips pressed in thin line, and the pity returned in her eyes for the woman who was cheated by her husband. God, I keep returning back to square one. When would I ever succeed in moving on? Placing a comforting hand on my shoulder, Sophie says softly, Not everyone is like Noth and Emily. A sad smile lifts the corner of my lips as I said, That's the thing, Sophie, even Nothan was not like that.